I've got a McIntosh C28 preamp here that I just picked up a little while ago at an estate sale along with some other items, and this one's working, but it's got some very dirty controls. I know this control right here is pretty scratchy. The volume control was scratchy, but with use it's improving. So what I think I'm going to do is clean all of the controls, all the switches. There's a whole bunch of them up here too. I've already taken the Dremel with a brush and cleaned up all of the RCA jacks in the back. So it's time to take this apart and start cleaning the inside contacts out. I get the plate off, and top plate, and that gives me access at least to this switch, which is the input selector. So I can spray that down with the oxit. There's a little bit of a dust buildup in here, so I think I'm going to fire up the compressor and go blow it out real good first too. Then I get this plate loose here, and I could tilt this up just enough to get in there and clean some of the controls on top. Might look at pulling the front panel off and see if I can get to the rest of them, or maybe a bottom plate. Let me blow it out first. Alright, in an attempt to keep the deoxit overspray down a little bit, I put a paper towel underneath this one control, and I'm just going to give it a good old squirt here of deoxit over all these contacts, and then just give this a good turn. That should be good, I hope. Oh, a little bit of squeak there. Maybe I'll add a little bit of lubricant here to that one where the axle goes in. Let's give that a squeak. That may be up here. Let me pull that apart and see if I can get to that too. This was the main control right here. This labeled comp, COMP. It's got a presence and a loudness position and a flat. This was giving me trouble, so I've already gotten to that and sprayed it down pretty well with the oxit. And then over here I believe is the balance control, which was working fine, but sprayed it too while I was in there. So I want to see if I can get to the volume control, and I can get to this switch, and I took the bottom off so I can get to these controls too, the bass and treble controls. So I think I'm just going to try those. I wasn't having any issues with any of these, and they're a little difficult to get to, so I think I'm just going to do some of the main ones here in the front. Pop the knobs off, clean them in the ultrasonic cleaner, and then reassemble it and see how it sounds. Okay, I flipped it over, and here's those bottom controls. I'll just give them a good spray. Work them. Alright, I think I'll put this together and hook it back up to the power amp and see how it sounds. I pulled the faceplate off because I thought that some of these lights were burned out, but if I turn this thing on, see if they're all working. So yeah. Ooh, there's a dead one. So I guess I'll have to. Oh no, Just got a bad connection. So I'll spray that one with the oxit. And then put all the knobs in the ultrasonic cleaner. And I'm going to spray a little crud cutter in there. And then add some distilled water. And let them run for a little bit. So here's a little trick I use to get that light bulb back in there. It's one of those bayonet where you have to push it in and twist it. And it's so far recessed you can't reach in there with anything to twist it. So what I did is got a nut driver and put some of this double, really sticky double-sided tape. This is the 3M stuff that they use for putting the emblems on cars. And I just stuck some of that on the end of the nut driver, and then that gave me enough torque to be able to twist that thing on. Just pushed in that way and then twisted. So there you go. There's a tip. Okay, and now that one works. Alright, we've got Pandora just playing straight from the earphone out into the aux in here of the McIntosh C28 going into the Hafler power amp, hooked up to some speakers behind me, and
yes, I got squirrels in my rafters.
Turn that down so I don't get a copyright strike. So sounds pretty good, and this switch here that was acting up is now working properly. Let's see if I can do this real quick. So I think we're good to go. I'm going to put the top back on it and set the whole system up and start using it. Alright, I got the McIntosh C28 preamp all cleaned up and polished all the knobs. I cleaned them in the ultrasonic cleaner, cleaned the faceplate, cleaned some of the controls, at least the ones that were acting up, and now I've got it installed in my audio bench here where I will use it. Right now I've got two different turntables playing. The first one, there's the second one. You just switch back and forth with this. They're both going into the phono 1 and phono 2 inputs on the input selector. And then I've got everything else attached to this switch to the aux input on the amplifier. So that feeds 2 amps actually, that Hafler solid state amp right back there, and then also feeds my con organ based tube amp right here. So that's the final part of the at least the audio equipment section part of the purchase that I just made. So actually here's turntables playing into the preamp, into the power amp, and then to the Altec speakers back here, which are all part of that estate sale from recent weeks. So it's all sounding good. Nice addition to the basement listening room.